You get involved. Don't forget to ask questions, etc. So this is just a catch up with Anrich and see what he's been up to. So first of all, how's it doing, and welcome to the platform.
How's it? Yeah, thanks for having me, and it's nice to be on here. I haven't been doing any sort of media really the last couple of weeks, so it's nice to do some media again. But and just chat to someone outside of my wife and and family. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. This is awesome. So let's start with your lockdown. How's that been? How have you been keeping fit and staying sharp?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to be on a family farm since lockdown. So
Mm.
getting around and running and doing some exercises. I got some weights as well from St. George's, so it's sort of been I've sort of been able to do everything I wanted to and needed to. As in, I haven't really been affected from a fitness and training perspective, so which is really nice. Had to come into town to get some reception to do the video, but yeah, we had to buy some essentials. But otherwise, it's been really fun, and obviously under circumstances we've tried to enjoy it as much as possible. Obviously, be able to move around, take some pictures, try to do some photography, and I don't know what's going on, but I'm trying my best. So yeah, I've tried to enjoy it as much as possible as well.
So, with regards to your shopping list, okay, not always do you want to reveal everything, but maybe reveal like three items that are unusual that you're going to go get today.
Unusual, yeah. Well, the main thing we need is water. We don't have, but uh, no, it's stock standard, eh? Water, meat, and I don't know what the other thing is. The rest is the wife, some vegetables, but that's her department. But yeah, no, it's stock standard essentials that we need.
Yeah, okay, cool. And do you delve into like what has been your favorite luxury to feast on during this period?
There was a stage where I tried to have a little bit less meat. Didn't work out at all. So I would say the chops has been up there. It's just been the go-to sort of every evening. We've had once or twice where we didn't have meat, but the rest of the time. So yeah, I've been enjoying a choppy, and then um, what else? I can't even. We've just been braaiing. Every night's been braai. So
Yeah. No, braai. It's a perfect time to do that, eh? Braaiing is so easy and quick to do. You must give me
it
tips,
is.
man. Down the line, you must give me some cool tips because I know you Afrikaners love to braai and you have the best tips.
No, stock stand and light the fire, and yeah.
I'll
No,
give you
we're
like
very spiritual.
I'll give you like an interesting story. The once we went on a I went on a camp with the school, and they were obviously we had to bring our own meat because I'm
Yeah,
halal and stuff, of course. So we obviously can only eat our own meat basically. So
yeah,
and we were in like Clan William, which is like obviously a very farmy town, etc. And there weren't a lot of people over there. That we stayed on a farm for a bit, and all I gave her ad was Californian barbecue spice because that's all my mother gave me with me. And she used to throw that on everything a lot of the times. So these are the guys over there at the farm. They tried for everybody, so we had to give them our grids and everything because we had a separate grid and
yeah,
separate meat. And all
yeah.
I gave them was Californian barbecue spice. But I'm telling you, I've never tasted meat so tender in my life, and it's exactly the same stuff I use at home. So there must be some trick.
Yeah. No, look. Generally, there's a lot of wood that gets burned, so maybe that's some proper hot coals. That might be the difference. I don't know, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
generally as hot as possible. You try and chuck it on.
So you like when you braai and stuff, do you just normally with wood coals or wooden coals, or is it with a Weber, or how do you prefer to
No,
do it?
just wood,
Just
just
wood.
wood. Yeah, yeah. Don't really
Maybe
use
that
coals, so
maybe that's
yeah,
a trick,
just
bro.
I
I
don't know.
braai
I
with
can't comment on coals.
I braai with a Weber
Yeah.
all the time, so maybe that's the difference.
Uh, Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Maybe you can, I don't know, steam it a little bit more. Then again, so probably have your pros and your cons. I'm not the braai expert though, so don't don't ask me for tips.
So Anrich, let's talk a little bit about your cricket career so far and your journey. To those that don't know you out there, because you've been quite new in the Proteas setup, and so it's nice for people to actually know your story and get to know how you got into cricket and how it started for you. So maybe just give me that story, going back to your memory banks.
Yeah, started playing as a youngster back, yeah, probably before school even with my brother. So I'm a bit of a lot lamiki, so used to play a lot of cricket in the backyard with him, and then yeah, growing up started playing indoor cricket. I think that's where it
Hmm.
got a little bit more serious. I rocked up to some sort of trials the first day that I went to the indoor cricket, and it was EP trials. So yeah, we got into the team and just yeah went on a couple of tours, and then obviously or red ball or hardball cricket started at primary school,
Hmm.
and yeah, it started slowly but surely. Under 15, made my first provincial EP provincial team, and then outdoor cricket or proper cricket now, and then I played 3 years under 18 after that, and yeah, sort of from there on, always part of the setup at Eastern Province, and varsity. There was a lot of injuries and stuff during that period, so I was fortunate enough to be able to study as well during that
Hmm.
time period. But yeah, when all of that was done, it was sort of just try and focus on cricket, and yeah, so it worked out a couple of years later. But yeah, it was a long road. There was a lot of obstacles, but it was nice to fight every obstacle and eventually get over it, and then start playing for the Warriors, our
Hmm.
franchise team, and then yeah, slowly but surely graduated, or yeah, went
Yeah.
up from there.
So
Yeah.
your study period, was it difficult to balance both studies and cricket, or did you take some time off a lot more than usual?
At the start, it was sort of more old school. So by saying that, we were doing a lot more cricket with the extra studies. Where I think my second or third year, that sort of the idea around it changed a little bit, going to a
Mm.
lot more studies and working the cricket around the studies. So um, I think the first 2 years was a bit difficult being part of a Eastern Province Academy and trying to do the studies and playing for the varsity, playing cricket for them as well. So I think once they changed that to sort of have the main focus on studies, it got a little bit easier because you were able to go to all your classes or to most of your classes. So it did get a bit easier. But then obviously once you start playing provincial or franchise cricket, you can't really work around your classes. So you have to be at
Mm.
training um, and at games. So luckily, I did most of my studies during my academy sort of period, during injury periods and stuff. So I wasn't really too affected. The only time I was affected was, I think, my last year when I did a postgrad. So luckily, I only had to go to class once a
Mm.
semester or once a quarter, and then yeah, the last two I missed. But luckily, we had also good communication. So yeah, passed everything eventually. Took me a
Yeah.
while, but yeah, so everything was done. So yeah, I think the setup now is a lot better than when we just started or when I just started. But for me, it was actually alright being injured in at times, being in the academy at times when it changed. So yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was alright.
and at school level, because I mean, if you look at you now, obviously you kind of burst onto the scene at the Zanzi Super League that year, that first
Mm,
year you were playing for the Platinum Blitz, and
yeah,
that's when people started really speaking about you a hell of a lot. And I mean, we've known about you in the franchises and seen
yeah,
your performances, but particularly because of your speed. So you were bowling 150 plus consistently. We were looking at that clock, and everybody was like, "Oh, wow, this guy has a raw pace." And then we've been looking for a guy with raw pace for so long, and South Africa's been looking for
yeah.
that. But at school level, I mean, what was it like for you then? Were you bowling that quick? Not obviously not as quick yet,
Mm.
but you were obviously always a blistering pace bowler. So how did people react towards you?
Yeah, it was sort of you were always sort of the quicker one, but yeah, under 19, I would say I was sort of. we were probably a handful. They were more or less the same pace. But it wasn't like when you played your normal school cricket. Yes, you were sort of a standout guy. But when you played provincial, you always had that one or two guys who were sort of there with the pace. So um, at school, yeah, guys were a bit scared here and there. You could see guys who can play, they're a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, also the wickets aren't the same as at franchise level. You don't get a flat track really. You get balls that move around, nip around. So it was a bit different at school playing at school compared to provincial cricket and later on franchise cricket. But yeah, it was always there. But it's like I said, only probably about 3 years ago is where it really clicked for me. I think it was about 2 years, 3 years ago where it really clicked for me and where I got some assistance or some help. I've always worked with one or two individuals in PE and where it really made sense what we were doing and where I could feel all the movements at the crease and everything. So yeah, it's the I would say probably the express side of it only came about 3 years,
No.
2 years, 3 years ago. So it wasn't something that I've always had, but I was always sort of quick. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, you were sort of quick, but like to take it to that next level, what do you do to do that? I mean, there's obviously a lot of youngsters. A guy like Gerald Coetzee, for example, that is
Yeah.
19 years old and bowling 150. How does he take it to that next level? How did you manage to take it to that extra pace? How much faster can you get actually with training?
So yeah, luckily for me in that sense, I was always sort of I want to say a hard worker, but yeah, I put a lot of work in at the gym during the gym periods, during off season especially. So we were fortunate enough to work with a guy who's probably the most experienced in South Africa, Drika Simon, as a trainer. So yeah, all my programs, all my gym work, that came from him, and I just try to follow that as long as possible. At the start, didn't really see the results, but as we got into the second season, you could start seeing results. Not really in how you look, but how the body's reacting to certain spells where it's hot, where body's tired. Maybe the end of the season as well, you can still charge in. So, um, definitely, you need someone who knows what they're doing with regards to your S&C. So that was a
Mm.
major part for me. And then the second part was, which was probably about 3 years ago. So I had that strength, or 2 years, 3 years ago, I had that strength from the strength and conditioning side. So when I started working with Pete Botha again, um, who's the Eastern Province provincial coach, he's always helped me with my bowling. And once we started working on it, we actually had a bit of time to work through a few things. One of my main things was always the braced leg. I never really got to the brace front leg. Actually, bowled once back of the hand slow ball at school, and I landed with a straight leg for some reason, and it shot through to the hip and everything. So it was a bit of
Um,
a scare, and I never really went back to that. And I just sort of continued with a bit of a bent front leg. And once we started working on the front leg, we got the when we got the front leg to brace, we got the hip drive to come through, we got the stronger front arm. So um, yeah, I think there was a lot of things that came about after we got the front leg sorted out. So if I see youngsters now or younger guys trying to, and they speak to me about going quicker, bowling quicker, not everyone is the same, but for me that is a major part. So if you can get that front leg to either brace or to be as straight as possible, or even not to bend after you've landed, to sort of keep it bended at that angle, whatever. So that'll help. All of that will help the right hip or right-handed to just sort of come through. So I
mm.
think those were definitely the main focuses around what we were trying to do, and he's helped me so much. Just getting over that hurdle, and once we got over it, it was just trying to fine tune one or two things. So not getting too specific after that. After that, it was just trying to find my lines that I run in, because everything changed. I can now, at times, I can swing the ball away that never really happened. It was either going in or going in a lot or going straight. So yeah, there's a few different skills that came along with it as well, which I'm pleased about. So when you can't really rely on one skill the whole time, so it's nice to have a little bit of a variety as well. So yeah, definitely for me it was the front leg and then everything that sort of worked around that.
Yeah, because I mean, for me as a fan, you coming onto the scene quite suddenly, we get to see you develop almost in front of us. So like, I watched how you played in your first test, and then I watched how you developed since then against England, etc. And I could see how much has changed in the way you approach your bowling. It's not just about banging it in as quick as possible. It's also about control, line, length, all of those things that you have
Yeah.
added to your game, swing bowling, etc. And for a youngster, generally speaking, I know when I was a kid, all I wanted to do is bowl as fast as possible. Tell me about that development in your career so far and how that's changed and what you've added to your skills.
Yes. So like I mentioned now as well, having the front braced leg helped me get some extra skills as well without trying to. So I can
Hmm.
shape the ball away now and then when the wrist is good. So that's really helped me with that. Then it's just about I always sort of encourage younger individuals not to be scared to try different things. I think when you only stick to one thing, you're only going to know one thing. But once you play around with the ball, even if you hold the ball differently, if you turn the ball around, you always sort of learn new things. And it's unique to every bowler as well. So the
Yeah.
way I hold the ball might be completely different. There was a stage where for me to swing the ball out, the ball was sort of reversing from the new ball with the new ball.
Yeah.
So it's something that I found this worked for me, but it wasn't that consistent. So like I said, things are a little bit more consistent now as well. But then from there on, it's just about playing around with your angles, sort of in trainings where you try and hit your mark. You're not trying to bowl the speed of light, but you're trying to hit your mark, and then you just play with your angles, or you play with your jump, or you. But it's nothing major. It's everything will be like maybe a foot to the side or a foot straighter line or um, yeah, a little bit jump a little bit forward or not straight up. Or even where I'm aiming. I think that's something that changed as well. So my angle was something, and then where I'm aiming. At the start of my career, I always try to look on the pitch, trying to find the mark where I'm trying to hit the ball or land the ball. And it felt like I'm a little bit off at times. So later on, when we play, especially, I started off playing sunfall cricket, 4-day cricket, and we always had the sunfall boards at the back. So behind the keeper, and I started looking at or sort of concentrating on either the U or some letter that was sort of in line, just outside of off stump, and I sort of started looking there, and the length I think comes a little bit more naturally to a guy, but your line you have to find a way, and that was also for me playing around, and I'm still playing around with it at times, but generally I've got my fixed areas where I look at now and stuff. But for me, I think the main things are to have your right angles, to understand your action, when to delay things, when not to delay things. So it's simple things that we forget about. We want to change our actions when things aren't going right or when we can't land our Yorker. We try and change our actions, but it's just maybe the area where you're looking at. So I also, when we work with Langers now, I was always aiming at the sort of halfway on the stump, on
Mm.
the middle stump or leg stump, whichever stump, but sort of halfway up to land my Yorker. And I was bowling quite a bit of half volleys at times, and then we just changed it to aiming at the top of the stump, and the ratio of hitting the Yorkers is a lot better. So simple things, you don't even have to change your action. You don't even. I was always thinking I had to change my action, bowl a malinga, sling it, or whatever it is to get it in the blocker, and it's not the case. So I think it's just about understanding. That's the main thing for any bowler actually.
Yeah, so something that I've noticed since watching you and covering your games is that I actually wrote a headline, "The Destroyer of Big Names." You every single time you play, you take one of the best team players in the team out. So you've taken the likes of Virat, Virat Kohli, Joe Root, etc. You always manage to get the big wicket. Is that an aim for you, or does it just happen? Because I mean, to take wickets like those of those kind of caliber players must really make you feel really positive about your game.
Yeah, sort of afterwards it does, but in the moment and before game, well, when we went to India, I wanted to get a wicket, didn't matter who it was, and I got Virat, but I was obviously ecstatic at that stage, but uh, just trying to get wickets, trying to help the team whenever, whatever the situation. So getting, yeah, like you say, some big names. It's nice to sort of see that or know that, have that in the back of your mind afterwards. But at that stage and during the games and before games, I'm just
Hmm.
focused on sort of executing every plan to every guy, and then just trying to help the team. So like I said, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times. I try to keep things like I told you with the braai as well. Keep it basic. So um, just use your wood. I try to keep things basic, so I don't try and overcomplicate things. Also with the action, try and keep it as basic as possible, and then play around with some basic stuff, some simple stuff like your angles and stuff. So I don't really try to think about it like at that time or during a game about big
Yeah.
names, or I don't care who's batting.
Okay, cool. So yeah, about that wood, I mean, Ravi already told me that no, we need to he needs to educate me about those things. But like, I'm gonna go straight into the comment section. So guys, guys, get your comments in. We're gonna ask them right now because I see there's so many and it's gonna take up quite some time to get through them. So I'll let this get into the comment section straight away. So Ravi has one for you. He says, Andy, great to have you on the show, Manir. As a youth, who did you model your bowling after?
Yeah. Um, Actually, interesting story. Well, no one specific, but sort of later in my career, I had times where in my head, I don't know, I think it might have worked once or twice, and then you just keep it in your head. And at times, I had this picture of Dale Steyn bowling in my head, and then when I tried to bowl, I think it was probably because I struggled to shape the ball away or whatever it is. Um, and then actually, funny enough, I found at a stage, all of this was when I started, I think 2017, 2018, when I started playing a lot of first class games. I found at stages where it felt flat, or obviously the ball also gets quite soft, and the wickets aren't exactly the same. And we also play on a lot different um, or smaller grounds, so there wasn't always that much bounce. And also, I didn't brace my front legs, so I didn't get that much bounce. But I actually thought about Morne Morkel quite a bit in my head, trying to stay tall. I just had that tall figure in my head, and some reason as well, at stages it helped me just to. I think it just helped me staying a little bit taller at the crease. I was collapsing a little bit, so I think maybe that helped me just to get some bounce. And so that was something or that is something interesting. At this stage, nothing or no one really. I just
Yeah,
try and work with Pete Witzer, like I said.
yeah.
But yeah, back in the day, I think those two guys were the main guys I sort of try to work around with, especially when things got tough, to maybe try something different. And those were the two guys that I try to follow.
Yeah, because that's incredible. Because actually, you got a chance to play with Dale at the Blitz, and that must have
Mm.
been an incredible experience for you to meet your hero finally. What was that like the first time, your first interaction with him?
Yeah, it was interesting to see that the guy is only human. You always sort of have this thing around them, and yeah, you sort of you don't think that they're human. You think that they are these incredible creatures. And yeah, so it was just nice to meet him, chat with him, um, and just see that they're normal and every other guy is normal. It's just so nice to sit with these guys and to understand that they also just doing what they love. And so yeah, also quite interesting hearing and seeing some of the stuff they do and they work around with or on. Um, but in general, it's just nice to see that they're human and that they're not anything different to you. They're just very talented, or they are the way they think is just a little bit different. But yeah, it's really just nice to be able to have normal conversations with them we always see them on TV taking fifers, doing unbelievable things, and sort of to understand that you can also do that. It's just about maybe the way they think or or the way they go about things, and then obviously a little bit of talent that they've got extra to compared to others.
Yeah, and the next question is, I don't know if you want to answer this or you can answer this, but who is your favorite ODI fast bowler, would you say, in the world of cricket today?
Yeah, uh, there's so many. I don't know.
It's tough when you are one of the best
It's
fast bowlers in
really.
the world.
I think I one thing I haven't done too much in, and I'll sort of try and justify, is I don't really look look into other teams too much. So I'll be a little bit behind at stages where guys know a lot of cricket history, and but so I always focus on SA. So I would say um, definitely between KG and Lungi, I think they've got a lot of skill and a lot of
Mm.
different skills, and the way they go about their things. Um, like you said, at this stage, I do look at what they're doing and how they're going about things quite a lot. So yeah, I would say those two guys. Obviously, there's some greats around, but like I said, I back South Africans, and I just think they are two very talented bowlers.
Cool. Another one over here is your test debut was in India, probably the toughest place to be a fast bowler. What learning did you get from that? And what would you like to do better in the next India tour?
Yeah, I don't know when that next test is, but so I think I mentioned it to, I don't know, I think it was to you actually.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I went to India and experienced everything, and that everything happened when I bowled, and yeah, just how things happen. I'm glad in a way that it happened that way, because if you if you play in Oz or you play in South Africa or maybe even England and you play your first test, I think it would have been a lot easier. Might have gone for more runs, whatever it is, but the conditions would have suited me a little bit better. So for me to learn and to learn quickly there as well was quite an experience. Once you missed your mark, you were going to the boundary. Um, when you didn't stick to the right plans for the right guys, you went to the boundary. So it was quite an interesting time. It was obviously it was very tough, but I think that helped my cricket quite a lot, especially on the Test arena. Having England after that, I just felt a lot more comfortable bowling to them than I did to India because of the experience, I think, and the
Mm.
way that they handle India handle certain situations. Um, I just felt a lot calmer, and also the rhythm was a little bit better than in India. But in general, I was just happy that I got that experience, that I sort of understood the margins are a lot smaller, and it's even smaller in India, but it is a lot smaller in international cricket. And I think that just gave me a little bit of a different perspective on my bowling, and not to go through the motions at times where you have to sort of concentrate and stay on it. I think that was something major, and it's difficult to explain to someone, but it you have to. I think you have to go through it to understand that feeling and that being in that situation and how to handle things afterwards. So I'm quite happy
Cool.
to have had that experience.
Yeah. And another thing we spoke about is the next question, because I saw it in front of me live, and it was amazing to see how AB, when you bowled towards him, he took. A lot of people say that if AB takes a few balls to this, get used to your pace, you know that you got extreme pace. And he took a few balls to this check. Wait a minute, like when you bowled at him. So how was it to bowl to AB?
It was, yeah, it was. Trying to think now again. I remember there were some bounces that I bowled to him as well, and it was just a nice feeling. But also during that game, we were so focused. I think it was one of I can't remember. Oh, I think everyone sort of before the tournament started thought that they might be the favorites, and we were so pumped up for that game. And to actually be able to bowl to him then later on, felt quite calm. But it was just such a good feeling. But it actually got me pumped up a little bit more, and I wanted to sort of, this is a guy to try and prove yourself to. But also in his defense, I don't think he's ever faced me before. So generally, the guys know what to expect, and yeah, I don't think he knew what to expect at that stage. But it was a good wicket. The Cape Town wicket was blitz at that time. And yeah, so it was nice to just get that experience in, and to see that you can compete with those guys. I think that was sort of one of the first times where I felt like, okay, I can compete, because generally it's been 4-day cricket, but to be able to compete in white ball cricket as well, it was just a nice feeling afterwards to know that I can actually do this.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the next question, and I'm gonna try to expand it a little bit more, because the question is,
Mm.
who is the toughest batsman to bowl to in your so far in your short career? But I'm gonna ask you
Sorry, say
from
that
the
again.
guys that you bowled. So the question over here
The toughest.
is, yeah, who's the toughest
Okay.
batsman to bowl to? But I'm gonna expand it a little more to get some more insight into other cricket. So let's start with first domestic cricket, in 4 days and 4-day cricket maybe. Who has been the toughest at that level at domestic cricket, and then obviously international cricket so far.
Um, white ball cricket, I haven't played a lot. But there was a stage where I felt like bowling to Rassi, actually, him and Temba. If I
Mm.
can put those two guys, they were actually, I found it quite difficult. And we were also playing in his London conditions, a little bit different what I'm used to. But I recall one game where Rassi just everything. He either swept me, sort of, I don't know, he plays this weird pickup, sweep,
Yeah.
slog sweep, whatever you want to call it, over deep square, over fine leg. Um, and I was thinking afterwards, what do I do to this guy? And then to Temba, bowling in, also is London, but still in the net, same thing. I mean, he's so short. You overpitch it a little bit, and it's a half volley. You miss your mark by such a small margin, and he just cuts you. And I think those two guys were definitely, if you take red ball and white ball, they were the two most difficult guys to bowl to that I think I've experienced. I can't remember anyone else. Um, and then international, oh, that's it has to be someone from the India experience. Um, Rohit was he was up there during that trip. And just missing a mark, trying to bowl hard lengths, and you shouldn't be bowling there, but you're just trying to get it just over the stumps, and you maybe miss your mark by such a small margin, and it just picks you up. So that was quite an experience to be on the receiving end of that. But yeah, he's an unbelievable player.
Awesome. So we've got another one over here. It's quite a tough one, actually. He says, "Hey Anna, my question is why most of our Proteas bowlers go for a short of a length rather than the Yorker in death overs."
Uh, I don't know. I think that's preference. If unless there's a plan, or unless the boundaries are um, bigger, wider boundaries, then that is obviously a plan. If you've got short, straight boundaries, then going for Yorker is not really a great option. But um, I just think if I can say in general, it's because of preference. If some guys prefer bowling a bouncer or back of a length or something, that's what they do, and that's how they do their things. I can't really tell them something different. If that's what's worked for them, then why not? At the During I think the last series, or during England series, the white ball series, we did speak a lot about um, sort of backing ourselves with Yorkers, and I think we did a lot of work bowling Yorkers as well. So maybe that's even just um, something we can practice more. Like I said, we were actually landing a lot more Yorkers after we started putting a lot of effort into it. It's such a tough training schedule, and you can't really just go out there and bowl Yorkers until 5 p.m. at night and then go play the game the next day. So when you do find the opportunity, I think that's something that we were guilty of as well. But just to, especially for myself, just to try and find some time to bowl Yorkers and not over bowl yourself, and not to do it too much, but you try and, even if it's every session you go 1 over or 2 overs or something, and you maybe cut a net session short and just go to your Yorkers and just to try and upskill yourself. I think that's quite important, especially to any fast bowler. I think it's something that we don't really train too often. And it's definitely something we can do a lot better. I mean, the most successful T20 bowlers are those, I think, that's got a good slow ball and that can land the Yorkers.
Yeah. You also have been had the opportunity to play quite a bit of domestic cricket before you got your Test debut. So this ties into a nice a question over here from Daniel, which is: do you think South Africa is currently short of quality fast bowlers, or are you happy with the depth that we have in red ball cricket?
Um, we definitely have a lot of guys with the potential, I think. I just think, and it's also it's in world cricket as well. It's not just in South Africa, but there's not a lot of guys that can bowl 145 plus. It's, I don't know why. Don't know whether it's just the way things are going, how the world is at this stage. But even if it's different training, or maybe it's just a lack of the proper knowledge being sort of given to kids and to sort of under 19s and younger players. But um, don't really know. It's a difficult one because, like I said, we don't really have a lot of guys. I think most of the guys, we were speaking about it the other day, most of the guys who's probably bowled 140 plus has or is in the Proteas setup, so,
Mm.
or has been part of the setup. So um, it's definitely something that can be improved on. I think South Africa has always been rich in fast bowlers, and it's definitely something that we can try and, I think we are busy trying to get it back to where we were back in the day. I remember you had like Ngam, Nanti Hayward, and yeah, you had like 2 or 3 guys per team, per provincial team that could bowl 140 plus, 145 plus, and guys were scared of actually facing that. And there's not really that. It's more about skill nowadays. Um, I definitely think the proper coaching and with regards to strength and conditioning and to the bowling side is a major part of it. And if I'm not saying the knowledge isn't there, maybe it just needs to get to the right guys or get to the right bowlers. Like I said, if I didn't have Pitbull, I probably never would have known some of the things that about fast bowling and about this, not the skills, but about the technique around it. So then I probably would have been done with cricket by now. So it's also finding the right person in the right time of your career, I think.
Yeah. So this next question, you did answer it earlier on when you spoke about Morne Morkel and Dale Steyn being idols to you when you were growing up, etc. You said that you don't really watch a lot of guys from other oppositions. So let's flip this question. And I'm sorry, Ron, if you don't like the fact that I'm doing this, but do you have any other inspirations besides cricketers, and who are they?
Um, Outside of cricket,
Yeah.
they I sort of try and get into a mostly training wise. I try to get into a different mindset, or I'll think about cricket, maybe something that gets you going. But um, sort of on the area of getting you motivated and stuff is what I'm thinking now. Is sort of in the way of Eminem, and um, now and then like Jack Barrow here and there. But just yeah, just something that it sort of gets the blood flowing and gives you some motivation. If I can answer it like that, that's an area where I try to, especially when I'm training, or even just when I'm especially late in or at night or late in the afternoon. I tend to get this feeling of just trying to do something and do some. proper training or something, and then you get into that mood and you play 1 or 2 Eminem songs and then you're going. So yeah, I think that's outside of the actual cricket. That's something that does get me going.
Cool, that's awesome. What Eminem song do you recommend? What's one of your favorite Eminem songs?
Yeah, no, there's so many. I think actually, yeah, no, there's so
Too
many.
many.
I can't. No, there's not one specific one that stands out. It's just
An
those
album?
that I'm no
No. Okay, I'll tell you
very
mine.
very very vague.
Yeah, so I'll tell you mine. I'm a massive Eminem fan, so I have every single album that he has, including the Infinity album. So I've really followed his career from the not from the beginning necessarily, because I was still young when he came about. So I only found
Yeah,
him. My first album that I ever bought from Eminem was Encore, and but
yeah, same here.
but my favorite ever one was Eminem Show. I think as a complete album, it was
Yeah,
unbelievable. So that's one of my favorite ones. Yeah, Encore was my favorite. I'll never forget it. We were on the way to PE actually. We drove to PE, and I was in the back, and I wanted to buy this album at Musica. So my father takes me in, and he's like, Eminem, no, 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 parental advisory. And I was like 12 years old, 13 years old, and he's like, you can't listen to this.
yeah,
That's
same here.
too much sweeter. And then
No, same here. Yeah,
he asked the guy
sorry.
behind the counter, can my son listen to this? Is there any bad songs on here that are like that he shouldn't be listening to? So the guy's like, no, it's not really that much. Maybe there's like one or two at the beginning, but it gets better as it goes along. And then I was like, okay, fine. And we put on the album in the car as we're driving. And number 7 comes on, which is Puke.
Oh yeah.
And my father's like, what is
Out the
this?
window.
So he's like this.
Yeah.
Luckily, my mother was sleeping in the car at the time. So he took out the CD quickly. He's like, "You listen to this in your own time. Don't tell your mother that I bought you this."
Yeah, no,
So
it's not something you want to listen to with your parents. No,
yeah,
actually, while you're speaking now, I was thinking actually for me, it's more. I don't really know the albums that well. I've got Google Play Music and stuff, so I've got more
mm,
individual songs than albums. So, but I actually enjoy the live performances. It's just
sure.
it's probably weird to be watching that, but yeah, having the live performance, it just feels like it's a little bit more. Yeah, it just gets the blood flowing a little bit more than just listening to the actual song and seeing the music video. It's just nice to see the live performances and also some of the surprise performances are also quite enjoy where yeah where he's with either I don't know Rihanna, Drake, whoever it is.
Yeah,
It's just nice to see that as well. Do watch that quite often.
one of the best live performances ever. He's like, you must watch the New York concert. It's one of the best concerts
I
I've
think
ever
I've watched
seen.
it.
You watched it? Wow,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. No, I think I've watched it.
So we've got another one from Ravi. He loves to ask questions. He says, Anrich, are you a football fan or a rugby fan? Who are your favorite teams? I'm hoping it's Man United and the Stormers if that is the case.
Um, I've yeah, football. No. I've got a football poster still back at my in my room at my parents' house. I don't know. Does Man United count?
Yes.
And then I've got a poster of them. I think it is still Wayne Rooney. It's long ago. Rugby. I watched it quite a bit back in the day or when I was younger. Not really that much anymore, but Blue Bulls still support them. Generally, it's just yeah, trying to annoy people now when the Bulls beat them. But um, I'm quite a decent Bull supporter. Yeah.
Cool, awesome. And another one. Sorry, there's a lot of questions here. I just want to try to get as many as I can. Do you fancy the new ball or the older one?
Uh, Before the action, sort of remodeled older ball, and now both. Um, feel a lot more comfortable with the new ball, and then it is nice bowling with the older ball. We've got a lot more control and maybe reverse swing as well. So, but back in the day, it was just older ball. The new one, yeah, it was going all over the place. So with the new with now, can sort of back myself going seam up. turn the ball around, try and swing it in, swing it out, or even if it's just to try and nip it around. So I'm a lot more comfortable now than I was a few years ago.
Okay, this next one I'm going to let you read. I'm not going to read it out for you. So,
Oh my word, yeah. Yeah, she's sitting. Yeah.
wow, she's unbelievably
Yeah.
quiet until now she's sitting next to you.
No, we're in time for some shopping, so she's got no other choice.
Can I ask you a quick
Hello,
question?
Sara. Hey?
Can I ask your wife a quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
So, what's he been like? How are you? How are you doing?
Good,
Nice to
thanks,
see
and
you
you?
again. I'm fine, thank
Nice
you.
to see you too.
Uh, what's he been like in lockdown? Is it been easy to deal with?
Um, th- this has honestly been the most time we've ever spent together in our whole lives since
Wow.
we started dating. Um, it's getting long.
Yeah.
Cricket can start again. No, I'm joking. It's been really good spending some quality time together.
Have you enjoyed being with him? Like, obviously, you travel sometimes with him and to watch him play and stuff. Have you enjoyed that? Watching him play and watching him develop into the cricketer that he is today.
Yes, I think it's very, very special for me to see what he's doing at the moment, and how he's developed over the few years, um, from the perspective of knowing the hard yards he's been putting in behind the scenes, and the extra work he's been doing, and all of that. So it's so rewarding actually to see all of that hard work paying off, and knowing how much he's put into it and how much it means to him. So seeing him play and sitting there and watching it live is just an amazing experience. And I still like when he's bowling. I can't watch actually because I'm stressing so much. Um, like when I'm at home and I watch it on TV, I can't watch. Like I'll clean the house or something, while he's playing in the background or something like that. But yeah, watching him live is awesome. Like then I'm forced to sit and watch. But yeah, I still get goosebumps every time he takes a wicket or bats or anything like that. Like very, very proud.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And as a couple, have you guys been doing anything that's different in lockdown? Maybe watching series or trying to cook together or something different?
Well, mostly been braaiing the whole time,
Yeah.
but other than that, we we started watching a bit of some series. We don't actually watch the same kind of series. I'm more of a Grey's Anatomy and um, Orange is the New Black fan and things like that, where
Okay.
he's more in, yeah, where he's more into the crime investigations and things like that. So we don't usually do a lot of that together. But we've been cooking together and spending a lot of time on the farm doing some sightseeing, and like he said, he's been experimenting with some photos and things like that. So we've been doing a lot of that together, which we wouldn't usually do when he's so busy.
That's awesome. Thank you. I was enjoying talking to you. I didn't know you were in the car. I would have actually asked you more questions. She's more interested to talk to than you, Anrich.
You can ask her all the questions, she'll answer.
There's so many coming in here. I'm gonna try to wrap it up. I won't be able to ask all of these because I know you guys have to go shopping, etc. I'm just gonna pick out a few more. County contract or IPL. Oh, that's a tough one. Let's ask you that one. It's a bit slow. If you had to pick between a county contract or an IPL contract, like obviously I'm gonna say obviously as an overseas player, because I never ever want to see you take a corporate deal. County contract or an IPL contract.
Um, it's difficult. I think it's two completely different sort of areas to go into. Where with the IPL, it's definitely it's definitely a nice tournament to go into, especially if we had let's say we had the World Cup. I don't know what's happening, if it is still happening this year, or if there's a T20 World Cup or something coming up. It's definitely nice to go into an IPL, or well, I won't know, but from what I've heard, it's nice to sort of experience that and to just try and gain some experience, whether it's from other coaches or players. And then with regards to county again, I think both of it is very dependent on what's happening the next season as well. If you ever had to choose, I think if there's a lot of Test cricket coming up and it's something you want to work on, or even to play in England. I've never played in England, so to just try and get that experience and to understand conditions and even the Duke ball and just different things. Then choosing a county option again to play a few or a couple of games would be really nice. So it's not really one that specifically say this or this, or even I prefer 50 over or 20 over cricket. I prefer all formats, like I've said in the past. It's really nice to have that sort of challenge and different conditions. That's really nice to have. Different formats, different deliveries you have to bowl. So I don't have any specific format, any specific tournaments or anything. It's, I think, mainly if you have to choose between something like this, it would be maybe what's coming up in the future, or in the next couple of months, and then trying to sort of play as much of that format as possible.
Okay, so last question. I'm sorry if I didn't get to all of your questions, guys. We'll try to get Anrich in the future, maybe on again, and we can ask you more questions. But this one was, let me find it. I lost it. Flip. Okay, here we go. Batting related. So we know, how was it to face English bowlers? Fancy going up to 8, maybe?
There's a lot of work to be done. Yes, it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. Even it started in India, just trying with the spinners, just try and sort of fight at times and just try and stay in, maybe get the in batsman to score some runs. And the same with England. It was such a nice feeling to just be out there and to eventually realize that you can sort of compete. I'm not going to be hitting sixes and boundaries every other ball, but it's just nice to know that I can stay in there and let someone else bat. So that was a really nice feeling. Hopefully I can get it quickly again. I thought I'm going to be training. I'm going to be facing quite a lot of balls during this time, but obviously with lockdown now, it's not really possible. But no, it was such a nice feeling to just be able to face the guys and to experience everything, and just to know that I'm capable of doing certain things. And then just once you got going, it was just nice. Especially, I think it was the first test where even to score some runs as well, not just face how many balls. So that was just nice to get that feeling again. Obviously, batted a bit at school and sort of academy days. So I can hold the bat, but it's just something that you don't really. Later on, people maybe see you as a fast bowler, and then okay, you bat 10 or 11, and then don't really work on that skill so much. So once we got to our training camp at Centurion, I think before the England Test series, we did a hell of a lot of bowling machine work with Mark Boucher, and he tried to put us under pressure as much as possible as well. Which was nice because we knew what we're going to be facing. We knew we're not only going to be dishing out, they're going to be dishing out. They've got some good pace as well. So we were doing a lot of short balls, and slowly but surely started progressing with different ways of getting out of the way for the short balls when they come around, when they come over, whatever it is. So it was just so nice to feel like what we've been doing is paying a little bit off. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed the batting side of it. I think it was a nice experience.
I really enjoyed watching you bat too. So thanks a lot for that experience. So Anas, thank you a lot for coming on. Thanks a lot for coming on this platform and doing this on lockdown with us. It's not often that we get to speak to Proteas come in a calm manner, and just when they behind the scenes, etc. And obviously speak to your wife too. It was a lot of fun. So thank you for coming onto the platform. Just lastly, just a message to the Cricket Fanatics fans that have asked me to bring you on.
Yeah, no, firstly, thank you very much for having me. It's been really nice to just be able to chat to you. Um, it's definitely, especially during lockdown, it's something I think that's just nice to see on social media, where you just sort of give ideas, even if it's for me to listen to different sports and stuff. It's just nice to understand how the guys feel. So yeah, thanks for having me. And then, um, yeah, I think cricket's gonna happen again. It's a matter of time when and how. And I think especially to the kids and the younger guys, keep working hard, never stop dreaming, and then don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to try different things. I think that's one of the main things that I always try to tell younger players. Don't be afraid to try different things, and don't be afraid to experiment. And never stop dreaming. It's I can only speak from what's helped me, but that's sort of the main areas that's helped me in my career. Especially like I said, once you start listening to those live Eminem songs and you just get into that zone. Never stop dreaming and never stop fighting as well. That's it's very important. And I think once the guys start doing that a little bit more, and even if they just realize the certain areas to focus on, I think they've got a bright future ahead of them.
Thanks a lot, Anrich. That was an amazing conversation. I really enjoyed it. And safety to all your family, your wife, and everybody during this lockdown period. Stay healthy and safe. And I'll speak to you again.
Thank you very much, and wear your mask.
Yeah. And you have to say your catchphrase before you go.
Dala what you must.
Check you out.
I haven't been to Cape Town in a while. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And sneeze.